Good morning. Again, just really proud of our team to get a tough road win at East Carolina in front of a hostile environment Saturday evening or afternoon. And we have a very resilient football program who players never gave up. They made plays to earn that victory in Greenville. We have a short week to prepare for South Alabama. We look forward to starting Sunbelt play this Thursday night on ESPN, and we need everyone to be here, give us that home field advantage. Again, can't wait to see our students, our fans, to give us the greatest atmosphere in college football. And I just want to also thank our fans who traveled to Greenville this past week. You were heard, and you were a major difference in that win on Saturday.
Coach, before the season, I believe you said that the thing you were most excited about was seeing how your team responded to adversity. And granted, every game has some level of adversity. What did you learn about your team this past Saturday?
Well, it couldn't start any worse than what it did. Going down 16-0, and we regrouped and we talked to our players, and you have to play one play at a time, one moment at a time. And our kids fought their tails off last week in Greenville, and it gave us a chance to win. But they have a never give up attitude. You go back even to Clemson when the game was out of hand. Our kids kept playing at a high level, and there were some good things in that game. And those plays at Clemson showed up at East Carolina, and so just very proud. Again, they want to be great, they did all the right things, and by doing that, we had a chance to win the game on Saturday.
Any of the second half changes that you foresee becoming more permanent?
Changes as what?
Is it strategy, or just how you made that comeback?
No, well, we played better on defense to begin with. They had three explosive plays the whole game. One was the 65-yard bomb. I think it was the third play of the football game. And then really two other plays throughout the game. So I thought we got our feet in the ground and really communicated well on defense, play our assignments, which you have to do versus that kind of football team. They've been averaging 95 plays per game, and we were able to hold them to 55 plays per game. So your best defense is a good offense. Our offense was able to hold the ball from East Carolina and minimize their chances to score a touchdown. So again, really just proud of how they played, and look forward to watching them play Thursday night.
First year for Major down at South Alabama. In the small sample size that you have, what do you see as kind of the trademark of his team? What's different about South Alabama this year?
It's a well-coached football team, and you look across all their numbers through statistics, and it really pops out. I think they're 8th nationally in scoring offense at 48 points per game. They're 30th nationally at 209 yards per game at 6.7 yards per carry. And they're 7th nationally in explosive plays. So on the offensive side of the ball, they can really get the ball down the field, stretch the field. On defense, they're playing at a high level right now. I think their corners are excellent. They have great defensive linemen. Their linebackers are downhill. They try to make a lot of confusion when plugging linebackers to mess up the offensive line. So, again, he's done a great job, which I know he would. He's been a head coach before when he was at Houston. And then now he's at South Alabama, putting his stamp on his program. So a great program. It's going to be a great test for us to see where we are in the Sunbelt play as we start Thursday.
David Ware, 24/7 Sports. Shawn, just because it is a quick week and you kind of have to figure out what your lineups are going to look like, can you walk us through the combination of injury impact right now? And, of course, you had a couple of guys ejected from the game. How does all of that stuff factor into what we'll see Thursday?
Well, I'll start with the injuries. Marcus Clark and Darrell Farrar, they'll be out for the season. So it's unfortunate, but they'll be out for the season. Hurts will be week by week. Again, he was at practice yesterday. We'll try to evaluate him today. On a short week, it's harder to evaluate those guys because today's Wednesday. So anytime you come off a short week, which we did in an away game in Greenville, I just want to thank our administration and Doug Gillum for allowing us to fly back from Greenville. It says about 2.5 hours to get back. So instead of 2:30 in the morning, we got back at midnight, which was able to give our players some rest. And then the targeting calls, I'll address them. I'm not going to get fined. I don't like to spend money. So each conference is different. Again, they were communicating to us when those happened of what they were looking for. The two of them stood, and the one versus Ronald, it was going back and forth. So one time they're telling me that it's not targeting, then it's targeting. Then they went back to Dallas, their home office, and confirmed it wasn't targeting. So those are bang plays. The one on Jordan Favors, he's sprinting his tail off down on punt, and he trips and barely even standing up and makes a great play. and when he was falling down, his helmet ducked. So it's hard on defenses. I know the integrity of the rule, what it's supposed to be, but sometimes that those bang plays, it's impossible to do. So it's all about player safety, which I'm all for, but some of the targeting calls are tough to swallow.
As you're talking with officiating crews pre-game, and they're sharing with you, what their points of emphasis are going to be, and you're working across different crews right now, certainly in non-conference play, are they at least consistent with what they're talking to you about?
Each conference is different, and what their point of emphasis is going to be. This past week point of emphasis was cutting the tight end coming back across, and we have not had a problem with that since I've been the head coach, or even when I was an assistant here, and that was a point of emphasis. The same block happened 3 times, and 2 were fine, and one they said we weren't in the right proper angle or proper position. So we'll learn from that. We have to make sure we do all the right things as far as schematically and how we teach that block. But that's a big part of our offense. We won't change what we do, but we'll make sure we improve on the technique part of it.
With some of the players who were either out for injury or certainly in Nate Johnson's case being ejected early, you had a couple of younger players really got on the field. Kahari Haynes at inside linebacker, A.J. Mebane was backing up Thomas Davis outside. It looked like they both held up really well. What did you guys see from them when you went back and watched film?
It wasn't surprising. I think it goes back to how we went throughout fall camp and really got all of our players, practice reps and scrimmage reps. I think Kahari played well. Sometimes he don't know exactly what to do, but when he does it fast. And a lot of times you can make up for missed assignments or bad eyes by playing fast, and he did. And A.J. Mebane, again, I was happy to see him have some success. He's a kid that's worked his tail off and to put himself in position. There's 2 great players in front of him with Nate and TD, and again, when his number was called, he performed. So that's the great thing about having that. I gave him the story about Wally Pipp yesterday at practice. And Lou Gehrig. Wally Pipp was injured. Lou Gehrig came in, and you never heard of Wally Pipp again. It's all about Lou Gehrig. So, again, just really proud of those guys, the way they performed. And, again, that's going to build depth for us and momentum going throughout the future.
As you go into this week, you've got another high-octane passing offense. So, they're not the only guys that had to come in. DJ Burks was switching back and forth between strong and free because of the depth issues. As you guys are talking with the defensive staff in particular about being able to make sure you've got enough guys to just make it through a game, especially with somebody you know is going to air it out on you, what are the things that are going to be important, especially in a short week?
Well, yesterday was a Tuesday practice. It was a heavy install day for us. Even though we have Farmer's out right now with an injury. We're hoping he's back this week. He didn't travel this past weekend. Zaire Gamble's been a pleasant surprise. Colton Fairs has done a really nice job. We expect to get him in the game Saturday. And then Ronald Clark, I thought Ronald Clark had his best game since I've been here. He really came down and tackled well in the box. And then DJ Burks, he's such a smart kid. He can play both safety positions, which are really totally different, 2 different assignment-wise. It looks easy to do, but again, one's a run fitter, one's a post player, and when you go back into you're playing those 2 different positions, it can be confusing at times. But I think he handles it well. I mean, he played fast, and again, he'll be a big part of our defense moving forward.
Jordan Luker, Appalachian Weekly News and 90.5 WASU. Offensively, you guys have had 964 passing yards to 404 rushing yards. Is there room for a more balanced attack in the upcoming?
That's not good. No, we have to be able to run the football, and that's not who we are, who we want to be. We like to be balanced as much as we could. Again, each game, you take out the Clemson game, okay, both ETSU and ECU was going to make us beat them through the air, and they were going to take the running game away from us. But sometimes, man, you have to just whoop the guy in front of you. I mean, you can't worry about if there's a 7 or 8 man box and you got 6 blockers. Sometimes you just got to whoop the man's butt in front of you, and our players know that. And that's not always on the offensive line. That's tight ends, that's receivers, and that's the running back being his own blocker. But that's not where we want to be. We're not happy about that, and we have to get that improved to have a chance to win on Thursday.
And then Joey Aguilar threw for 2 interceptions in the first half, but rebounded to throw over for 400 yards afterwards. What was the conversation in the locker room like after that first half?
Well, as Joey, and the longer you're here, the more you'll see that. So I appreciate you coming every week to this press conference. I love Joey, and I want him to play that way. He plays loose. Doesn't matter if if he throws an interception or a touchdown, he's the same kind of guy. Now, I want him to improve on decision making sometimes. A kick is not a bad thing. Throw the ball out of bounds is not a bad thing. So, but I know he's looked at the tape. He knows what we did. We have to protect him better in those instances. I mean, there was some pressure on him early. I thought the line protected him well at times. But I'll go to battle with Joey Aguilar any day of the week because he gives us the best chance to win. He's a great leader, and he's improving week in, week out.
Matt President, Appalachian Sports Network. You mentioned a few weeks ago that going into the year, you and your staff had an opportunity to do a deep dive over the summer on each of your first 4 opponents. How much of a luxury is that to have an early season opponent be a midweek game in terms of the work that you were able to do over the summer?
Yeah, that was intentional doing that for this game. We knew that coming into the season. It's going to be a quick week for us after a away game, a Thursday night game. And so it does help. It's when you go back, you kind of watch what South Alabama did last year. Well, the only bad part is his new head football coach. But fortunately, it's the same offense. He was the offensive coordinator last year. The defense is very similar. The defensive coordinator was a position coach there last year, so there are some similarities to it. Some things are different, but it does help you just as far as personnel-wise, looking at who their best receivers are, their best defensive linemen, to give you a chance to get a preliminary scouting report against them. So even though it's the same, it's a little bit different. So I'm glad we did it, but we have to make our game adjustments or our game plan versus the first 3 games.
You talked some about the blocking, not just of the offensive line, but across the board. But obviously this offensive line group is playing together this season for the first time. There's a lot of turnover from last year. What have you seen in that progression, and how does the run blocking compare to the pass blocking thus far?
Well, we've thrown the ball more times, so again, that's going to be just percentages. We're better pass blockers right now, but there are some things. The one thing about an offensive line group or a unit, that 4 players can do the right thing and 1 person has a missed assignment, it's a negative play. And so there's a lot of times in those negative runs we've had throughout this season that 4 guys doing the right thing and 1 guy's not using the proper technique or having the right angle in his departure or not enough good enough double team in the run game, which leads to negative plays. And they have to all play as one. 5 guys playing as one, and Coach Cummings done a great job with that group. It's not for a lack of effort or lack of not studying tape. It's just lack of playing together. And from week 1 to week 4, I think we've improved greatly, but there's a lot more room for improvement to get to the standard we have with that group.
Coach, we saw in the last week and a half or so that conference realignment is still a thing. It's still very active. So when you play these out-of-conference games like you did with ECU, and we saw Sun Belt teams come up with some big wins elsewhere around the country, how important is that for the Sun Belt to perform well against other conferences?
It's important. I'm very proud of the Sun Belt and all the coaches and players that in this conference. We have a great football conference. The realignment, that's going to happen what it is. Our goal coming this season was win our opener, which we did at ETSU, and win our state. And that's a big game for us. Since I've been the head coach, we're 3-0 versus East Carolina, and I've got a ton of respect for Coach Houston and how he runs his program. And they're going to win a lot of football games this year. But just when you have 2 fan bases who love football, we have such rich tradition, that when you come out with a victory in those kind of games, it's important. And I say this all the time, and I mean it. We should be playing these games year in, year out. Again, our fans travel well. That whole left corner was painted in black and gold, and we could hear them in the stands. I'm not sure what their crowd's like the rest of the season. I'm not there, but I know when App State travels, we travel well. And these games are very important to not just myself and this program, but for our fan base and everyone who went to school at Appalachian State.